Welcome back to the Challenger podcast. I'm your host, Dave Glazer. Thank you for tuning in to this series. We're talking about fatherhood and the Enneagram Type 8. After last week's episode, I thought that this week we could talk about the power and presence of the Type 8 parent. And if you are in relationship with a Type 8 or you yourself are a Type 8, you can understand how the intensity and the strength can oftentimes come across as overbearing. And so I want to talk about that in the context of parenting and what your child needs to feel safe in a relationship with a Type 8 parent. So let's dig in. Enneagram 8s are often called the challenger or the protector. I relate very closely to the challenger. And as a father, those natural strengths come out in traits like courage, decisiveness, but a fierce instinct to shield your family can oftentimes come across as overbearing. And it can create a sense of safety that our children rely on. So if you relate to that, this episode is going to be great for you. If you're in relationship with a Type 8, please send this episode to them and invite them to the conversation. Please don't tell them, hey, you would learn a lot from this. Hey, I want to invite you to listen to this. It really stood out at me because I love you so much. That's how you approach a Type 8. Our children absorb this intensity, though. That's what I want to start this conversation with. They can feel overwhelmed if they don't know how to interpret our big energy that fills the room as Type 8s. Oftentimes we step into a room, and if nobody is taking the lead, we assume that leadership role. I just saw that this past week in coaching the kids class at jiu-jitsu. No one was stepping up, so I took the reins, and that overbearing protector can be misinterpreted sometimes. That energy that we bring into the room that creates this leadership desire is balanced, can be balanced with genuine listening and emotional attunement. We talked about attunement last week, and it helps children feel safe enough to grow into their full selves. And as a parent, understanding that our children are individuals themselves, they're not replicates or duplicates of us, nor are they an extension of us. We are in relationship with our children. And once I learned that my daughter is so different from myself, that her individuality is her gift and not anything to criticize, our relationship was able to flourish and get better. Not become perfect ever, but just get better. So let's start off with talking about how kids need to feel seen by their parents. A few core needs that every child has and needs that are to be met by their parent, especially when they're raised by a strong personality like the Enneagram Type 8, is they need validation of their feelings. They need you to notice and name their feelings without any judgment. This is called modeling behavior. When we model this behavior for our children, they can grow up into autonomous adults, independent, but also respecting and loving the home that they grew up in. So if you're struggling with your kids misbehaving, your kids acting out, your kids discipline, or your kids needing to push back on you, you might have an opportunity to validate those feelings and experiences independent of your own. I think one thing that Type 8s struggle with, and I noticed this in myself, is we believe that validating other people's experiences and feelings invalidates our own experience. And that's absolutely not true. By validating somebody else's experience, we do not inherently invalidate our own. And that's one thing that I want to help you understand and build some practical and applicable tools and skills to do just that, is to sit in the moment and say, by validating your experience, it does not invalidate my own. Your children with a strong personality type as a parent, like an 8, they need freedom to disagree. You know, our grandson is growing up to have a very strong voice. Both of his moms have a strong voice, and he's starting to model that behavior. And so as grandparents, when he's spending time with us individually, we need to be able to hear him and say, like, okay, you disagree with that. Maybe you don't want to go to the pool, you want to play in your room instead. Okay, that's a completely reasonable decision that a 3-year-old can make for his own freedom to disagree. Hey, I don't want to go to the pool today. I'm tired. I want to play in my room. Cool. Awesome. Let's do that. They need to know that they can say no or I feel differently without fearing your disapproval. We're not placating, we're not supplicating, we're not giving them everything that they want, but we need to hear their no as definitive. We can ask them clarifying questions, we can ask them for more information, but we have to honor their no. And we can do this with gentle curiosity. When an Enneagram Type 8 keeps in mind that gentle curiosity is a very, very powerful tool, it doesn't dim their light, it doesn't diminish who they are as a person. It really just kind of softens their approach. With gentle curiosity being a soft startup in our relationships or gentle curiosity when parenting can actually help us become more attuned to our children's experience and help us soften that overbearing, intense first impression that we give. They need you to be able to ask, tell me more about what's happening inside of you, even if it feels inefficient or uncomfortable for the parent. Understanding our children's inner world is truly a defining moment. Being curious about our children's inner world is a defining moment. And when we show up with consistent presence over time, they can trust us, they can feel seen and heard and understood. And the behavior issues may end up working themselves out over time because we are giving the attention to our children that they ask for, that they need, and that they are almost clamoring for. It's that consistent presence in their lives where they begin to flourish when we take time to pause your problem solving mode and simply be with them. Sometimes it's sitting with them in silence, sometimes it's breathing with them, sometimes it's really just listening to what your child has to say about their experience. And when needs are met, your strength doesn't overshadow them, it nourishes them. When an Enneagram Type 8 parent balances strength with understanding, incredible things can happen. A children's confidence can bloom. They learn that the standing up for themselves is safe because you've modeled healthy assertiveness, something that I work on regularly. Their emotional intelligence develops as they see that even the strongest parent can be tender and vulnerable, which I know that Enneagram Type 8s struggle with. I do as well. Their trust for us deepens. They internalize the belief that love isn't conditional on obedience or toughness. They're able to soften themselves, open up their own vulnerability, and share honestly with you. Over time, resilience improves and it grows because when mistakes happen, they know that your love doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't disappear, they won't feel abandoned over time, and that these are gifts. Ultimately, our big takeaway is that these are the gifts that we can offer that help shape our children for life. I promised you a couple of practical and applicable solutions here at the end of our episode. So, here's some ideas to practice aiming for this balance. Reflect before responding. When your child is upset, pause before jumping into solutions or criticisms. I want you to take a breath and say to yourself or say to them, help me understand what's making this feel so big. We definitely want to resolve the issue, but we want to understand their emotions as they show up. You want to name your own emotions. By modeling this openness of sharing your feelings calmly and freely, hey, I'm feeling frustrated, but I'm here with you, can help our child flourish under our strength and vulnerability and nurturing that relationship with them. Ask them their perspective, invite them to share their perspective, and ask, what would you like to happen right now? Because this is a co regulated partnership of some sort. It's a parent child relationship, but it is also a partnership for the two of you to work towards the problem together, work through the problem together. By asking, what would you like to happen right now? This teaches them that as your child, their voice matters. And as they grow into healthy, autonomous adults, their voice will matter at that time as well. Own your stuff. Apologize freely. When you overreact as a type 8 parent, own it. I was too harsh earlier. That wasn't fair to you. Ultimately, it's about making time for gentle connection. Roughhousing is fun. Roughhousing is fine. Play is great to help them model other behaviors. But when it comes to conflict and emotional responses, play, read, or just sit together. And here's the key point: without an agenda. Don't have an agenda or an outcome that you want to have from the play, reading, listening, or just sitting with each other. This is about emotional connection, not about solutions. And finally, let's close it out with some reflections. These are opportunities to take a moment and reflect on what we've talked about today. And as a type 8 father, your presence is powerful. But the real magic happens when your strength becomes a shelter, not a storm. Not about chaos, it's about safety. When your children feel seen and heard, they learn that love is big enough to hold every feeling: fear, joy, anger, and hope. This is how they will flourish under your guidance, not under your control. Thanks for listening today. If you found this episode meaningful and you have a few takeaways, please consider sharing it with other parents you know and leave me a review. It's really nice to hear your thoughts and your takeaways from the episodes in the comment section on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. And remember, you don't have to soften who you are. You just have to open your heart a little wider to flourish as a type 8 parent. Thank you. This is Dave Glazer, wishing you health and happiness wherever you're at in the world. I'll talk to you soon.